Is science fiction really dying? One network is treating it like so, and it's being talked about in the mainstream news about how sci fi shows are really not being given the, I guess, depth that they need to. But this is something that's gone on in the past as well. I mean, we can obviously think of shows that were canceled really quickly, like Firefly, which just really never got to expand its wings. And if you've been following the Sci-Fi channel, that's SYFY, you know that they cancel shows left and right the same way. I'm sure a dozen of them can hit the tip of the tongue of ones that you probably were interested in that just never went out there. Now, what's interesting is the way that their parent company, NBC, is actually treating it via streaming like it just doesn't even matter. And that doesn't make any sense. If you've already got the properties, you've already got them done, why wouldn't you just put them up for streaming so people could enjoy and watch them? But I guess they just don't think it's worth the time and don't think it's worth the effort. And this is a bad sign for science fiction in general because sci-fi is something expensive to produce. It's something that requires a lot of effects, a lot of budget. And so it's something that these studios, as they're cutting back left and right, are probably going to start looking at things like Star Trek and things like, that are out there as well. Maybe Alien Earth might not get that long of a run. We'll see how it goes on Hulu over there. The Orville's another one that's been up in the air for a while. And so let's get into the news and kind of dissect where these studios are thinking about this, even as sci-fi's got a lot going on right now. I did a video about The Eternaut on Netflix, which is a beautiful show. Of course, Alien Earth is going right now, so Strange New Worlds, Resident Alien just wrapped up. In some ways, we have more than ever, but at the same time, it looks like it's being, just kind of slipping like sand through our hands. Let's talk about this as we talk about all things in the sci-fi news, my friends. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Join us here as we, of course, discuss the stories of the day. And I am a science fiction writer myself. If you like my thoughts on storytelling, on science fiction, you'll probably enjoy my Arroz War. This is a beautiful trilogy. It'll evoke that 1980s feel of space opera science fiction that used to get from Baen Books and the like. And so this is a Babylon 5 is another good example of something that this is inspired this. And so I wrote this. It's about a human who embeds himself on an alien starship and spies on them, trying to bring back information to Earth, and gets just wrapped up in some crazy situations that really escalate over the whole trilogy. It builds so nicely. People who, of course, finish the trilogy message me all the time going, wow, you really paid this off amazingly. And it's going to go even further because I'm doing more in this series. I'm not giving up on science fiction. I'm doubling down because I love the genre so much. So please check it down. Check it out. Check it down in the description below. It's available on ebook, print, and audio. And there's, like I said, a full trilogy. Get all of it today. Just go through those audiobooks. It's excellent stuff. Thanks for being here and supporting, guys. All right. So here's the article of the day. There's no doubt that sci-fi fans are the most dedicated in the world. Yes, as it's always been that way. Star Trek fans popularized fan conventions, etc., and brought the short-lived series back after decades of cancellation, which is why the streaming wars began. Every studio pulled out a flagship sci-fi series to get eyeballs. HBO Max had Doom Patrol. Of course, Paramount Plus gave us a new generation of Star Trek. Disney introduced, of course, The Mandalorian, and Apple TV has Severance, Silo, and Foundation. So there's a lot going on. But at the same time, NBC is always looked at as an afterthought. And this is where it's interesting right here because they actually own the Sci-Fi channel. Now, what just happened recently is they canceled Resident Alien. Now, everybody is really raving about Resident Alien. I've had a lot of fun with it. It's got its problems. I wouldn't say it's a perfect show, but it is fun entertainment, and it's actually not that expensive of a sci-fi show to produce compared to a lot of these other like big budget productions. So it's something that should be like something that carries the banner of sci-fi, and yet they just wrapped it up really quickly, and it's like, why wouldn't they go forward? And you could tell that the actors wanted to go forward. They enjoyed it. The creators wanted to go forward. So this was totally a network decision just to end this after the 4th season just now. Very crazy that they did so. And, there's other things that have gone and just disappeared very similarly like this. But it gets interesting, even more interesting when you get onto Peacock. So naturally, they've got shows like The Office and Parks and Recreation, 30 Rock, and the like that get them more views, I guess, than this stuff. But they don't really have much in terms of sci-fi on the channel. And what's interesting is Sci-Fi Channel has all these shows. Here's some ones that I forgot about even back in the day. Eureka is one. Warehouse 13, Haven, Resident Alien, of course. And a lot of these shows are not even there. And, of course, Peacock doesn't just have it streaming. Resident Alien, actually, I discovered it on Netflix because it's on Netflix, not really something. It is on Peacock, but I just didn't pay attention to it on that level because I never pay attention to that app. And that's why our science fiction fans just are not paying attention to it because they don't take care of it. But what's interesting is there's other shows that are missing from the channel, which is kind of weird because it's got a lot that could have been in there. They were going to do another Battlestar Galactica reboot, and that was canceled. Quantum Leap reboot, of course, did not do well. And, you know, Quantum Leap, of course, had its own problems. Brave New World barely finished its first season. And, of course, Resident Alien now canceled at the peak of its popularity, which doesn't make any sense. They also launched a new space series called The Ark, which I never heard of. They gave it 2 series, no promotion, and then never bothered to let fans know whether there would be a 3rd season or not. We still don't know. That's pretty funny that, of course, they don't even announce it. Now, these are often canceled very early, as we've seen all this stuff, and there's a lot of mistakes going on as well. I don't know anything about The Ark, like I said, but it's very odd the way that they're handling it. You know, there are some stuff on Peacock here, which you can see some of this stuff out there. I guess they have SeaQuest on there. I've actually been watching Red Dwarf on there, which has been on there recently. But what's not there? Well, this is interesting. Then this is where I saw this article and was like, wow, Eureka is not on there. That was a huge show. Lost Girl not on there. Warehouse 13, another huge show with a big Haven, as aforementioned. Killjoys. Now, Killjoys was a really, really interesting sci-fi production. I watched the first season of that. And then forgot about it. But I guess it went on for 4 seasons. I'd love to actually have that on this app here. And The Magician. So these are a lot of big names that are out there that's like, huh. And there's not a lot on Peacock for science fiction. Now, like I said, I think that like they just kind of write off the genre, even though like science fiction has a very dedicated audience. And everybody who watches science fiction like stays in science fiction. It's a small audience, and it's been dwindling a lot because of the type of content they've been putting out in recent years. Star Trek being the tentpole, of course, of science fiction, you know, doing Discovery really just hit the genre really, really hard because people hated that so much. Strange New Worlds is actually performing a little bit better in the ratings than Discovery was, but not enough to like really get people going, and there's not enough buzz around that show to, of course, get people excited about it. Now, this gets interesting on the Paramount level because Paramount is in, of course, negotiations with Secret Hideout over Star Trek, and they don't know what they're going to do for the future. Obviously, Strange New Worlds is getting a 4th season is already filmed. A 5th season, they're actually getting a wrap-up of only 6 episodes because they're just trying to wrap it up real quick rather than just let it linger. Which is kind of crazy. And they've got Starfleet Academy on the horizon, which has 2 seasons filmed and already bought and purchased and all that. But is it going to go beyond that? But I know they have plans for a 3rd and 4th season, but it's probably not going to be out there. On the Disney side and BBC side, we obviously know about the Doctor Who struggles where Disney can't come to terms with the BBC because the BBC wants too much money and, of course, is not giving people what they want as well. They are doing all this content that's stuff that, like, normal sci-fi fans aren't going to want. Sci-fi is already a niche, and when you go full woke activism, full DEI on this stuff, which Doctor Who's done, Star Wars, Star Trek has done, and of course, if you go to the Apple TV programs, they're even worse. The Murderbot sort of tentpole show they have going right now is a big transgender allegory. You're already in a niche audience, so you have to make that as broad as possible to make sure that niche audience watches, right? Otherwise, you're doing a niche audience, say, 5% of the population watches science fiction. Well, 1% of the population is like pro-transgender like representation and crap that wants to watch that in their show. You're now catering to 1% of 5%, which is pretty rough, and that's a lot of what's going on. Now, I think we're going to see a lot of big problems coming soon. Now, Dexter Original Sin is a much less niche show. Dexter was something that was very, very popular, and they did this comeback sort of deal. And they've got a renewal announcement, and it is canceled, which is interesting, before season 2. Which is very, very bizarre. It means they're just cutting this stuff right away, and this is due to the Skydance merger and them not wanting to spend a ton of money on that. Now, Dexter's got to be doing better than Strange New Worlds right now, and so Strange New Worlds is a very, very expensive thing to produce. So you got to look at this and go, is Star Trek the investment that they're going to go on with? It's very, very interesting that science fiction very well could be a dead genre because of what's going on here, and we may see just all these sci-fi shows starting to get purged as these companies are trying to start tightening their belts and the like, because of their own problems. Like I said, they've got all these franchises out there that are very interesting. And the Orville, they're unable to get that back into production, even though Seth MacFarlane really wants to. And the only reason they do it for the Orville is because Seth MacFarlane, they want to keep him happy and the like. We got Star Trek maybe going off the air with all this stuff. We don't really have any big Disney Plus Star Wars shows in development. Yes, we have the Mandalorian movie coming out, but it looks like they're kind of abandoning a lot of those projects there. Doctor Who is up in arms. We don't know what's happening with that. Of course, Resident Alien is canceled, as mentioned before. So you look at all these things and you're going, oh gosh, the future looks a bit dismal for these sci-fi series, and it's not really going forward. There's nothing really being developed right now that everybody's going, yes, that's going to be the future one. And so I think that sci-fi is going to be on its way out just because of the expensive production costs, and it's an unfortunate reality of what's going on right now. Now, what do we do about this? I don't know. AI is not there yet to be able to make my own shows that are going to be popular. But once it gets there, I'm just going to be doing that because, honestly, I think I could do a better job than a lot of these people who are not catering to their primary audience. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Do you think sci-fi is dying? Please hit the like and subscribe button. Check out my books on Amazon. Grab The Stars Entwined today. Start reading. Get this whole trilogy. You're really going to love it, guys. And thank you for being here. We'll be back soon.